StarCast is proudly sponsored by DoghouseSystems.com. If you use the code StarCast or Biscuit at checkout, you will get double memory on your next Doghouse system. And also TweakedAudio.com. Go to TweakedAudio.com for high-performance noise-reducing earbuds. Use our code StarCast and get 30% off plus free shipping on your entire order. And finally, SC2QuoteOfTheDay.com. Daily quotes from the StarCraft 2 community. The site may suck, but the quotes are sick. And make sure to go check out their t-shirts in their new store. Once again, that's SC2QuoteOfTheDay.com, and we thank them for their support. Sponsor an episode of StarCast at thestarcast.com.
Hell, it's about damn time for StarCast.
Incoming transmission.
Biscuit.
Welcome back, everyone, to episode 143 of StarCast, the StarCraft podcast. I am Garrett Weinzierl, and with me, as always, is Kyle Ferguson. Kyle! Dude, I know we usually try and, section the show up, and we're like, okay, we're going to save news and stuff like that for the section with news, but screw it. So Heart of the Swarm is out. It is, the best Christmas ever for StarCraft fans. How are you doing this week?
I'm doing excellent. So little drama this week, too. A perfect launch of the game. No server issues or anything. Granted, it was an expansion, but seriously, I mean, we had Q's in World of Warcraft, the Diablo fiasco, and this thing went off without a hitch. Everyone's been enjoying the multiplayer. The pro players are enjoying the campaign quite a bit, and no one's getting each other's business because we're all too busy just absorbing the story.
It's a perfect week. Like I said, it's even Reddit's behaving themselves this week. It's weird. I don't know what to do with myself. It's like, ooh, is the end of days coming? Because Reddit hasn't found anything to raise a pitchfork at. But, yeah, like you said, man, it's been great. I've been playing the crap out of the game. So, anyways, this is our post-launch episode, our first episode after the launch of the game. And, well, we've got something special for you guys today. Joining us for the first time is the voice of none other than Jim Raynor himself, Robert Clotworthy. Robert, welcome to the show, and thank you for coming.
This is Jimmy. Got to throw that out there so people know that it is me. Raiders roll. How's it going, guys?
It's good. Tell me that you'll just randomly quote, when you
every once in a while I'll throw out something like, some things are just worth fighting for. So I can't help myself.
That is wonderful. I was gonna ask you. I was like, are you down with the fanfare? Do you get offended when people come up and ask you to quote things? My question has already been answered.
You know, it's funny when I know we're going to talk about the Blizzard launch, and they had sent me a couple of questions ahead of time because I was going to go up there with Husky and Day 9 on stage, and I guess they were worried that I wouldn't be able to think on my feet. So they asked me one question, or actually we had one written down that they never asked me, which was, have you ever been recognized as the voice of Jim Raynor out on the street? And if you have any kind of amusing anecdotes that would relate to that. And, in truth, I really don't. But I was going to come up with an amusing story. And that amusing story was that I was actually on my way to the launch, and I happened to stop at Starbucks. And I said, first of all, there are 4 words you're never going to hear Jim Raynor say. And those are, venti chai latte, please. Right? And then I was going to say that the couple behind me heard me put in my order, and they said, excuse me, are you Jim Raynor's accountant? Because there's a cognitive disconnect when people see what I look like that apparently, I see my face in the mirror all the time. I think I sound like me, but people see Raynor and they hear my voice, and then they see me in person. I go, wait a minute, this how does this work? And all I can say is, thankfully, it does.
That's wonderful. That's always the thing. However, I don't know, because I mean, Kyle and I both grew up watching a far more animation than we ever should have, and video games and whatever. And there's always that thing when you see your first voice actor to some famous character. There's always this, whoa, I can't believe.
You go, wait a minute, you're not Space Ghost.
Yeah, exactly.
You're an old man with a toupee. Wait a minute, excuse me, pardon me. it's all smoke and mirrors. It's as people say, well, I may not look like Jim Raynor, but damn it, I sound like him, and that's what's important, right?
Indeed.
In voiceover, it's more critical that I sound like him than look like him.
That's absolutely true. So it's funny too, because I was going through pictures. Because I always make little like advertisement images when we got guests coming on. So I was like, I need to find a picture of Rob, and I've looked up your picture. And I'm like, is this really? I'm not sure if this is him. Is this really Robert? And sure enough, I looked up an interview with you, and I was like, okay, cool. We
that's
indeed
me.
have the right guy.
Now you've also got your official website that doesn't have a picture of you on it, so you kind of play with that illusion.
You kidding me? Yeah, with voiceover, one thing you never do is put up what you look like, because you don't want anybody to have a reason not to hire you. They may go, oh, we're looking for a dark-haired guy, and his hair's blonde. No, or whatever it is. He's too old. He's too young. You don't want to give anybody any reason not to hire you. So when you put together a voiceover website, or you try to pitch yourself voiceover-wise, you really want to stay, I guess, a mystery. Let them fill in the picture. That's why I was hesitant at first of even doing a live video on this, because people tend to kind of dig the voice as opposed to digging the face. That sounds weird, but hey, listen, I work a lot on camera as well. Okay, just not as Jim Raynor.
That's true. What are some of the other projects you work on that people might actually know you from?
Well, I do a lot of voiceover stuff. There's a show called, you guys watch Ancient Aliens at all?
I was about to say that because Kyle is a massive fan.
Really?
All the time.
All right.
Kyle and I are friends outside the show, so he texts me. He's like, dude, I just saw this episode, and this happened. And yeah.
Well, Kyle, do you know that I'm the narrator, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, and just the ridiculous parallel of you playing Raynor, who's searching for these hidden artifacts by aliens, and then you're doing the hidden aliens on Earth.
Yeah, and the attitude is just a little bit different. Obviously, Jim Raynor is a different kind of a guy than the narrator of Ancient Aliens, but I still approach it as an acting job. And for Ancient Aliens, he's more of a curious searcher of the truth. He's not sure as to what the answers are, so that's why I'm constantly asking the questions: is it possible? Could it be? those are the questions. Those aren't questions that Jim Raynor asks a lot in life.
He's a man who knows the truth and knows what he needs to go do.
No, the question that he usually asks is, "What have you done?" I heard that in Heart of the Swarm when they showed the trailer for that, and I went, "Wait a minute! I said that in Wings of Liberty as well." When I turned to Tychus and said, "Tychus, what have you done?" So it kind of turned something on in me where I thought, Jim is caught by surprise quite a bit. That's part of his character, is that he's a trusting person. He is I don't want to say naive, but he's maybe naive to a certain extent. He doesn't think that somebody's going to do that to him. So that's part of his humanity and what is his, obviously what is one of his greatest weaknesses as well, his greatest strengths and his weakness. He's a man of faith, and he trusts, and sometimes he gets that knife right between the shoulder blades.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Especially, I've finished Heart of the Swarm, and I'm not going to... also, for the podcast audience, this is going to be spoiler-free up until the bitter end. We'll give you plenty of warning when we go hardcore spoilers. But, over the course of Wings of Liberty, and, well, even you did the voice for him in the original StarCraft and Brood War.
Yeah, back in, I guess we recorded that in 97. It came out in 98. So, yeah, the two original characters, the two voice actors that are still with the franchise are myself and James Harper, who plays Arcturus Mengsk.
Oh, okay. So, like, the embodiment of good and the embodiment of evil are the two voice actors that have
yeah, isn't that interesting? We're kind of like the I guess the bookends of the whole StarCraft cast of characters. We are on opposite ends of the seesaw, so to speak. And we're actually very good friends, because James is a good guy. He actually came with me to the launch out in Irvine on Monday evening.
That must have just been surreal. Like, I don't know, after the show, you guys are sitting in a Starbucks together talking, and someone walks by and like, dear God, is that Manx and Raynor just palling it up?
Well, it's kind of funny because I'm a fairly timid person, kind of a shy guy. I'm not one of those people that has walks into a room with a big, Klieg light on me, or a big banner that says, "Hey, the voice of Jim Raynor right here." I kind of like to be a little bit covert. So when I show up to those events, I kind of like to blend in and be a part of the crowd as well, because it's fun. It's fun for me as a fan to do that, and then to get into conversations with people. You get into a conversation, and they don't know who you are, and they're more open. You just start talking, and then you bring it out, and the conversation is not weird at that point. I mean, some people are kind of a little bit intimidated, thinking that, well, we can't bother him. He's not going to want to talk to us, and it's exactly the opposite is true. I love talking to fans of StarCraft, getting their feedback. I had a big long conversation at the launch with this fan who was from Korea, and he was asking me about the deeper meaning of the story of StarCraft, whether it was some kind of a metaphor for life as we're living it now, and religion. And to me, that was incredibly fascinating, just to kind of play around a little bit and ponder those aspects of the game. And that's not a conversation you're going to normally have with somebody if you're up on a stage and signing autographs. You have to kind of be hanging with them for something like that to pop up. And that's what I enjoy the most, is just talking one-on-one with people and just kind of shooting the old BS a little bit.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned your, how I guess down you are with talking with fans, because I can second that, because when we were approaching for the show, you were immediately like, oh yeah, I'll do it. Sounds great.
Most voice actors are like that anyway. We all remember what it was like when we were starting out, or when we were kids, and we got to meet that person that was the voice of whatever, and how exciting and thrilling it was. And there's something about being a voice actor. It's different. Like, for example, if out here in Los Angeles, everybody is involved in the business somehow. Your plumber has got a script that he's working on. The cleaning ladies, she's got an audition later that afternoon. I mean, everybody's involved to a certain degree in show business. And so there's this natural, I guess, skepticism when you meet somebody and they say that they're an actor. It's like the old joke if you say, what do you do? I'm an actor. Or say, really, well, what restaurant do you work at? Because nobody really is able to make a living as an actor. It's very difficult and very challenging. But there's a different mindset when people meet you and you say that you're a voice actor. They're actually interested. They're kind of intrigued, because it's kind of different. It's kind of cool, or kind of different than what they everybody thinks that they can do it. Everybody has a voice. Everybody has kind of imagined what it would be like to be the voice of blah blah blah. So it's more, you're more approachable, or at least people are more inclined to give you the benefit of the doubt when you say you're a voice actor, not just kind of immediately slough you off to the side. which often happens as a on-camera guy.
Yeah. Do you ever get that now? Like, do you get people who maybe aren't familiar with your work, and they're like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm a voice actor.
Well,
like,
it's kind of weird when you're an on-camera actor, and I've been doing this since I was just a little kid. I mean, I was 14, 15 years old when I started working professionally. So I've done hundreds of TV shows and movies. I mean, I've worked commercials, hundreds of commercials. I mean, I've worked consistently for a lot of years. But still, when somebody asks you, "Are you an actor?" I feel like I have to explain myself a little bit. Well, yeah, but I'm one of those actors that works. I have to kind of justify it a little bit. Like I'm a little bit defensive, which is kind of weird. But as a voice actor, you don't have to do that. You say, "Oh, I do. I'm a voice actor." "Oh, really? Wow. What do you do?" "Oh, I do blah 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 blah." They're more interested and more intrigued. So the conversation flows a little bit easier.
Well, there's also this fear that actors always kind of hate the characters they portray, so you don't want to approach them. Maybe that's not but you are, at least, through all your interviews, through online, you're probably Raynor's #1 fan.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's great. First of all, the opportunity to portray a character over man, how long has it been? 15 years since I did it originally. First of all, that's amazing. To be able to do something as an actor, that one role for that period of time is very rare. It just doesn't happen very often. And then to add to that a character of the dimension of Raynor. First of all, how critical a character he is in the Blizzard universe. I mean, he really is the key light, so to speak, in the Blizzard universe. And then you add to that the type of character that he is. He's not an anti-hero. He's not a bad guy. He's not evil. He's very human. He's very fallible. He's very heroic, but he's one of those reluctant heroes. He's not a guy that's out there trying to save the universe. He really would prefer to just kind of stay at home. But circumstances have drawn him into this conflict, and so he has to do the best that he can in a terrible set of circumstances. He's almost like Luke Skywalker to a certain extent in Star Wars, where he's drawn into this thing that he really didn't want to be a part of. So you add all these little layers to this character, and then of course the love interest with Kerrigan and what happened with her, and where their relationship, where the universe. I mean, we've all felt at times in a relationship that the universe was out to get us, to keep us apart. Well, in this story, the universe is really trying to keep them apart.
That's
in
very
a literal sense. And at its core, it's a great love story between these two people. And so we're allowed as actors to portray these characters and given these scenes that not only have these great heroic scenes where you're battling, the forces of evil and, killing Zerg and trying to, get revenge on Mengsk. You've got these quiet, intimate moments where it's just two people who are trying to make it work together in a very tough situation. And those are actually the moments that I enjoy the most about the game, because it's very rare to see that in a game, those kind of scenes. And to me, it's really they're very emotional, and I think that's what gives Raynor and Kerrigan that where people can really identify with them. It makes them very, very human, because we've all been there. We've all had people that we care about and had circumstances that have separated us, and you have that longing that, and there's this desire for people that they want to see these two get together, because they know if they did, everything would be so much better. And Blizzard, in their infinite wisdom, is kind of created this Gordian knot that they have to untie before they can possibly connect and get together on a permanent basis. So any of their happiness that they have is short-lived. But when it is short-lived, you see its depth. Like at the end of Wings of Liberty, when Raynor is carrying Kerrigan in his arms, and she's incredibly vulnerable at that point. And the simplicity of the scene where she just kind of looks up at him coming out of her fog and just says his name, and he just kind of he couldn't be happier at that moment. And he says, "It's okay. I got you." That's everything that he fought for. That's the culmination of all that he struggled for, was that particular moment. And I think people recognize that and see that and can relate to that. And that was one of the scenes that, fortunately, Trish and I were able to work on together. We performed that scene in the same room, where normally you don't get that opportunity. And to me, it's a moment that I'll always like. And I whenever I see it in a cutscene, it affects me. I mean, I forget that it's me. That's what's kind of nice about it. I get wrapped up in the story of these two people. And as an actor, you love scenes like that. You just love it. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Raynor, because Chris Metzen and the people in Blizzard given me the opportunity and created something that's so wonderful to portray.
Yeah. Back to that ending sequence of Wings of Liberty, where he's walking off into basically like riding off into the sunset, cowboy style.
Right.
You said he couldn't be happier. Do you think? And I'm not trying to like be jokey here. Do you think he would have been happier if he didn't have to just shoot his friend in the face?
Well, here's something that's interesting. When I was speaking to Sean Plott day 9, I brought up something in the interview, and he asked me about that particular scene. Tychus turns on him, and Tychus doesn't pull the trigger immediately. Why doesn't he? When I talked to Neil Kaplan about that, as an actor, he said, I think that Tychus knew the depth of the what he had done to his best friend, how he had betrayed his best friend, the depth of the betrayal, and Tychus knew that was not something he could live with. So in a sense, he wanted Jim to kill him. That if he was going to die, he was going to die at his best friend's hands. And Jimmy realized, that's why Jimmy says we all got our choices to make, because it's a matter of what are you going to choose to do? When you have to make the choice, are you going to be up for that choice? And what does Raynor do? He shoots Tychus, but what does he shoot him with? He shoots him with the gun that he put one bullet in that he had sworn was going to be used on Mengsk. So there were all kinds of layers that were happening there. So is he happy that he had to kill his best friend? No. But it was a choice he had to make, because the choice at that period of time was between her, Sarah, and Tychus. And he knew where his ultimate allegiance was. And he was going to do anything to save her. And if it meant killing his friend, justifiable, he's not going to kill his friend just on a whim, justifiably, that's what he had to do. And I'm sure it is a heavy blow for Jim to carry with him. He would obviously have preferred for that not to happen, but circumstances, again, forced his hand.
That's a damn good answer, sir.
Now, as you mentioned, there was about 12 years in between the original and Wings of Liberty.
Right.
Now, we know that Blizzard was actively working on up to like 6 years before Wings of Liberty came out. Were they notifying you, or did you have to dig Jim out of a bin and kind of reacquaint yourself with him?
Well, it's kind of interesting, because when I first did the original game, my wife was good friends with a fellow that worked over at Blizzard. I'm not even sure if it was called Blizzard at the time. It might have been. Probably was. So he was aware that they were casting for this new game called StarCraft. He knew that I was a voice actor, so he set up an interview for me to go down there and meet with Chris Metzen. I sat and talked with Chris. I don't even know if Chris had an office at that point. He might have been sharing an office, had a cubicle somewhere, I don't know. But we sat together, and he showed me some of his original drawings that he had of Jim Raynor, some of his concept art for what the whole world that they would inhabit was going to be like. I mean, it's interesting now, those pictures that he had like in a little sketch pad that he would just tear off and hand to me and show me are now probably at the Blizzard museum, hidden behind bulletproof glass like the Mona Lisa. But at that, and then we kind of worked on the character a little bit, spoke about it, came up with some vocalizations, kind of get a placement for the character so that it sounded right for the character as he drew it, and went in, recorded it a few times, and essentially forgot about it at that point. It was just a job. I had no idea that anything was happening with StarCraft, and it was probably, 8 years later, 9 years later, it was quite a while after that I was working on this soap opera called Young and the Restless. And I was on set, and I overheard this conversation that one of the crew members was having with another guy, and they were talking about StarCraft. And I, kind of all of a sudden I went, oh, yeah, I think I worked on that. Yeah, I did. And I mentioned to him, and I said, are you talking about StarCraft? He said, yeah. I said, oh, I did a voice in that game. And he said, really? What did you play? And I said, well, I know his first name was Jim Raynor. I couldn't remember the last name. He goes, Jim Raynor? And I said, yeah, Jim Raynor. And his jaw, dropped. it was like a snake, where the whole, the double jointed jaw just drops, and it hits the floor. And at that moment, I realized something was going on that I needed to be aware of. So that's when I started doing my research and realized how huge a hit it had become, how big a game it was. And my first thought at that point was, damn, I missed all the fun. You know, I thought, man, there's all this action, all this activity around it, and here I was totally clueless. You know, I'm watching, old reruns on TV when everybody else is out partying. It's like they didn't send me an invite, so I was a little bit, upset about that. And so when the new game was going to be made, when it was announced, I obviously wanted to be involved and contacted my agents because I thought, well, maybe they forgot that I did it. I mean, it's been a lot of years. And, a lot of people have heard the story. Make it long story short, is that I had basically lost the job. They had decided that they were going to go in another direction. That's always the Hollywood answer. Do you have it? No, we're going in another direction. What is that? Well, we're going with somebody with talent. Oh, okay, great, thank you. That's the other direction they're going. It just means it's not you. And my agent, Becky Dodd, was very persistent. So whenever she would see the sides come into the office that they were continually casting for this character of Jim Raynor and they hadn't found him yet, she kept resubmitting me. And then I guess the word got out on the internet that both Glynis, who played the original Sarah Kerrigan, and I were not going to be coming back to play our characters. And that started kind of a groundswell of support for us. And Blizzard pays close attention to whatever's happening out there with the fan base. And eventually they said, why don't you come down, let's give you a call back. And I went, that's all I can ask for. All I can ask for is a fair shot at the role. And if I don't get it, I don't get it, but at least give me a shot. And I really had a sense that I could play the role just about better than anybody else, because I really was invested in the character. I really understood it, and I really wanted the opportunity, because after 10 years, you obviously mature. You think back where you were 10 years prior. You're a totally different person now. I felt I had more ability to go deeper with the character. I thought my voice has probably matured a little bit more, where it's got a little bit more resonance, a little bit more texture, a little bit more, there's more there than there was when I was a little bit younger. And they brought me down, and I was the only one they brought in. Usually on a callback, there's a half dozen guys there, and you go in there for 5 or 10 minutes, and they say, thank you very much, goodbye. And instead, I was in the room for 30, 45 minutes, close to an hour, working with Andre Romano, who is the director of StarCraft. And Chris Metzen was there, along with quite a few people from Blizzard who had all driven up from Irvine to the studio in Los Angeles. So it was like an hour-plus drive for them to get there. And we just went over a lot of the script. We just read a bunch of stuff. And at the end, once I was finished, I thanked everyone, obviously, for the opportunity. And a couple of weeks later, they called up and said, yeah, we want you back. And when I spoke to Chris after getting the job, he told me, he said, and he says this also in the backstage or behind the scenes interview that's on the new Wings of Liberty, on the new Heart of the Swarm, is that the stakes got so high with the new game, the budget got so big that they could hire just about anybody to play the role. And they said, let's put it out there. Let's see what other interpretations of the role are. Who's out there? Is there some star, celebrity that might have some additional cred that we can bring to it that might help us? And to this day, I don't know who read for it, what celebrities. They've asked me if I want to know, and I don't really want to know. And but what Chris said is that when I walked in the room and I started doing the lines, they all looked at one another and they felt that Raynor had walked back into the room, that he was there. And he said we had to go on this long journey to come back home to where we began. And it was an anchor for them. And so for me, it was incredibly gratifying to hear him say that. It was me getting the role exactly the way an actor wants to get it, which is through auditioning and to honestly get the role because they want you. It's not because somebody forced them into anything, or it's not because somebody owes me a favor. It was because they felt that I was the proper choice for the role. And for Chris to tell me that story, it really meant a lot to me. And so I take the character very, very seriously. I take the opportunity very, very seriously because, like Jimmy, I had it all taken away. It was gone. I had to give it all up. I had to say, it's somebody else's role now. Good luck to them. And it was fun while it lasted. And I give it up. And by doing that, it allowed me to be kind of reborn a little bit as Raynor. So I keep that sense of appreciation in mind whenever I go into the studio. I don't take it for granted, and I try to do my very, very best and be as honest as I can as an actor when portraying the character. And hopefully the audience is picking up on that, because when I'm doing Raynor's dialogue, I'm not BSing. I'm not just what we call phoning in a performance, just saying words. It's coming from an honest place, a deep place, a true place, and I think that's what the audience hopefully is responding to when they listen to Jimmy speak.
I would definitely agree with that. To hear that that you were that close to not being Raynor at this point is absurd, because.
It was not that it was not that close. It was gone. It was literally
done. Signed.
Thank you very much for your work. Goodbye.
No,
don't call us. Don't let the doorknob hit you in the ass on the way out.
Oh,
it was over. It was gone. I went, well, thank you. I gotta, as an actor, you lose a heck of a lot more than you win. I mean, you lose 90+% of the things that you audition for. So not getting a job is nothing unique for an actor.
Right.
You've got to build up a certain amount of thickness to your skin anyway, because you're going to get rejected 90+% of the time. If you're rejected 90% of the time, you're a huge success as an actor. That means you're working. That means you're booking 10% of the time, and that's crazy. That's crazy good. So if you were a hitter, you'd never make it to the major leagues with an actor's average. Forget it. You'd be a sub 100 hitter.
Yeah.
Never find yourself on a team.
Yeah. That is just absolutely crazy now. Because I think we can talk about some of the opening scenes from Heart of the Swarm, because I'm sure anyone listening has played those. The first scene in the new Heart of the Swarm game, not the opening cinematic, but the first kind of in-game one, where Raynor is going down into this military base where Kerrigan's being experimented on. When he first enters the room and you hear like the Western guitar play, and he's just like, "Let me in." Like, I just got chills. Like, yes, I am back in this world. And to imagine some other voice coming out of Raynor at this point is just absurd. Like, I don't know. My mind goes to like the least appropriate place. Like, what if they had picked like Seth MacFarlane to do Jim Raynor's voice? And I love Family Guy as much as the next guy. No, I'm not dissing Seth MacFarlane, but like that's where my mind goes. Like, just something totally inappropriate for the character.
Yeah, I mean, I love that scene. That was one of the first scenes that we worked on, and it's just simple. And it's interesting because he says, "Open the door, son." I mean, because the Marine that's standing there, there's a certain amount of, I don't know, how do you put it? It's like he's not trying to be threatening at that moment, but he's threatening. You know what I mean? By saying "Open the door, son."
Oh, just an hour.
It's like letting people know who's in charge. And boy, you better listen up.
It's such a brilliantly done scene too, because they're towering over Jimmy because he's not in his suit, and he just demeans them like, "Listen, son, this is how it's going down."
And then just open the door. It's like, yes, sir.
Right away, sir.
Right away.
Yeah, I was so stoked because.
Blizzard's good. Blizzard is really great with their entrances and their exits, aren't they? Their opening scenes and their final scenes. I mean, everything is great, but I'm really happy because it's really important with an opening scene, because that really sets the table for everything else that's going to come. And of course, the ending scene is the thing that keeps you there for what is going to be coming. That ending scene from Wings of Liberty just gets you going, oh man, I only hope and pray that these people stay happy. So some people say that the dialogue is a little bit, hokey, a little bit stilted. I don't think so. I think that there is a simplicity and a purity to the dialogue that, as an actor, if you just, oh God, there was an actor that said, they asked him about how he acts. He says, basically, I just look him in the eyes and tell him the truth. And if you just are very simple in your intent and you just say the lines, don't try to add more to it than what's already there, and just trust and have faith, people are going to go along for the ride. They're going to believe it. That's why those little simple little moments are so great. I mean, they don't overwrite the scenes also, which is also nice to say, open the door. He could have had a long monologue. Listen to me, son. If you don't open the door, I'm going to take that helmet off of you. I'm going to shove it. There could have been this long-winded thing overwritten, but you don't need it. And for Jimmy, he's a man of few words. That's why when he does speak, you really need to listen to him. And he's only going to say it once. He's not going to repeat himself.
Yeah. I've been hearing that. I've been reading reviews of the game and stuff, and that point came up a few times. People were like, "Well, there's some one-liners. It's a little simplistic," but I'm kind of with you. And I also think that you're working with like archetypes in StarCraft to a point. I mean, like you referenced Star Wars earlier on in this, and I agree with you. But to work with archetypes like the characters in StarCraft, and then to get everything to actually work in the world and be believable, that is hard to do, because I don't know what it's
difficult to do, and it's really easy to screw it up. I mean, one of the things that you sound like a man who has studied mythology a little bit, and there's a great writer named Joseph Campbell who really broke down the story of myth and the story of the hero and the hero's journey. And basically, the stories that resonate with us as humans are these mythological stories, and the ones that have these very specific archetypes, like you said, and these very specific beats in the story and elements that the hero has to overcome, and situations that he has to find a way through. And if you stick to that formula, the story will work, and the audience, the people, the human beings, no matter what culture you're in, because these are universal myths, will follow it. And Blizzard is brilliant in that they are doing that. Now, a lot of people may not realize that this structure, I mean, in its simplest form, StarCraft is basically a Western in space. But there are specific characters and events that happen within that Western that are wonderful, that people will always resonate to. That's why you'll be able to look at the StarCraft story over and over and over again and never get tired of it. Now, you may find little flaws, little places where you'd like to tweak it, or something that somebody might like to, you might like a character to act a little bit differently in this particular scene. But the overall structure, you're not going to want to change. You're going to want those moments when Jimmy and Sarah get together. You're going to be torn apart when they're torn apart, and worry about what's going to happen to them. You're going to hope and pray that Jimmy gets through this tough time, that something terrible doesn't happen to him. Or if he makes a mistake, you're going to go, "Oh, what is he doing? Pull it together." You're going to be invested in what's happening. And that's one of the wonderful things that Blizzard has done. The writers are great, and the cinematics are just, my God, they just blow everybody else out of the water.
Well,
as you can see, I'm passionate about it.
Well, and on a single hand, I wouldn't even need all these fingers. I can count a video game kiss that wasn't completely cheeseball. And this newest game has one of those that actually works. When you're...
And think about how simply that scene was written. They don't really say very much. He just what do I say?
It's like riding a bike.
Well, no, but before that, when I tossed the rifle to her, which is her old rifle, right? I mean, as a ghost, and I'd say, and I can't remember what the line is, but something, I'm alluding to that, and I'm saying it's just like, you remember to use this, don't you? It's just like riding a bike, and then she takes it to a whole nother level, and you have that moment where finally these people are able to kiss, and then she repeats it back, and he's just at a loss for words at that moment in time. But this is a great transition for them to be, like Butch and Sundance, so to speak. They're riding off to go, take on the world. They're hand in hand. They're together at that moment, and totally in sync, and perfectly happy, even though all hell is breaking loose around him. But yeah, and it's not cheeseball at all. It's written. I mean, come on, to say just like riding a bike. Yeah, that's a little bit on the nose, but I think the moment demanded something like that. And with the characters the way that they are, it works for them. It's totally in sync with the type of characters that they are.
Yeah, well, it's like Jimmy's even realizing just how absurd and what a perfect storm this moment is.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
And he's commenting on that with the line like, well, there's only one thing I could say at this point, and here it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I don't know. Oh God, I could talk about the beginning of the game. The whole show could just be about how stoked I was loading up Heart of the Swarm, but.
Yeah, people were pretty excited, man. The launch was fun. I didn't see a lot of the live stream from other parts of the world, but I know that at one point they were telling me that the live stream had over 100,000 people that were on it. That's not bad. You know, even at the tail end, we had 40,000 plus for the last couple of hours of it. And that time, most of the world is asleep.
Yeah. I tried and I passed out. I was like, this ain't happening. That's. I mean, I'm so stoked where live media is going on the internet. Because we watch a lot of esports too, and that's the number one way to get it is through the internet. So it seems like such an exciting time. It's like the Wild West of media. So anyway, I'd like to I guess go before StarCraft even, like who were some of like your influences? Like what made you want to get into voice acting?
Oh man, it's just like anybody. It's the cartoon characters that you would watch as a kid. For me, well, the Flintstones. I love the space adventures. I love like Space Ghost. I love Johnny Quest. I loved Huckleberry Hound. I loved all the Warner Brothers cartoons. With Mel Blanc and Dawes Butler that were doing it. Gary Owens, who is the voice of Space Ghost, who's still around. I mean, this guy. We're joking about. You're not the voice of Space Ghost. You're an old man with a toupee. Gary Owens has got to be close to 100 years old or something, 90 plus. He still shows up to auditions. He was the guy that did all the voiceovers for the old Laugh-Ins. My father used to work on Saturday Night Live, and the announcer for Saturday Night Live, Don Pardo, is 90 plus years old. I haven't seen the guy since the 80s when I would hang out on the set. He was old then. Now he's like, but still, every Saturday night at 11:35, he's going live in front of a microphone, and he sounds the same. So I looked at all these people and I thought, what great jobs these people have. And just naturally as a kid, you got at that time it was a tape recorder. And I would get together with a friend of mine who had a better tape recorder than I did. I think he had a 4-track, or maybe it was a 2-track, where you could actually record 2 things at once. And we would write little pieces, little skits, little things, and we would act them out, and we would add sound effects, and we would add music to them. We would do like it was like a radio drama or a cartoon show or something like that. It's the same that what anybody does now, but they just have different technology. Where I would just record stuff on a reel-to-reel tape recorder, now people are able to actually do some kind of a crude animation on their computers at home. It's important at an early age to start having fun with it, to play with it a bit, because that's where you build up the love for it. Eventually, you get to the point of where you want to get more serious about it. That's when you start to study. That's when you start getting critical about what it is you're doing, where somebody says, you're not really doing this very well here. Why don't you try it this way? And if you don't have that love that you've built up for it, that passion, then that criticism is going to be, you're not going to be able to handle it. It's going to be counterproductive. That's why when a little kid wants to play tennis, you don't immediately start teaching the kid how to play tennis. You give him a racket, let him hit a ball. Who cares where it goes? Let him have some fun. Just hit the ball wherever you want. Wherever you want. In fact, there was a guy I went to school with. He was a great baseball player. I mean, he was phenomenal. And his father pushed. He had like a batting cage in the back of his house, blah, blah, blah. He got drafted by a major league team and refused to sign. And when asked why, he said, because I've always hated baseball. Because I did it because my father forced me to play, but I never really liked it. And I thought, if at the very beginning he had just been allowed to have some fun with it, because baseball is a great game. Who cannot have fun playing baseball? But when it was too early, it was the responsibility of being good was forced upon him. He lost the love, and he started to resent it. So he went as far as he needed to go to where he could finally say, "Screw you, Dad." He goes, "Now I'm going to lead. Now I'm going to lead the life that I want to lead." And so, this is a long story to take you to the place where you need to build up the love, have some fun, and naturally kind of segue into it. Opportunities start to develop. A lot of people will obviously reject you, turn you down, say, "No, we don't want this. We're not interested." And you just keep at it, and eventually you get your shot. And one of the nice things about voiceover is you always get your shot because they're always looking for somebody new. When I first started out, I was 15, 16 years old. My father gave me a great piece of advice. He says, they're always going to be looking for a voice. He said, they'll always need a voice. Could be a television commercial. You see a television commercial where it just shows a car. Nothing, just a car. There's no people. But at the end, a voiceover will come on and say, the Jeep Cherokee, 2013, whatever the heck it might be. There's always going to be a voice in there somewhere. And what's also nice about a voice is that you're not limited by what you look like. So there's tons of opportunities. So as I started to mature and started to get better as an actor, the opportunity just opened more and more in voiceover. I had the courage, or maybe the stupidity, however you look at it, to walk through those doors that were opening for me. A lot of actors think they carry the weight of the world on their shoulders, that what they're doing is all so important. I mean, it's weird. I don't know if you guys can even relate to this, because there's actors out here, they're all so freaking serious. Like,
I spent 2 years living in LA right after college, and worked a lot of commercials.
Then you know, and it's all, pardon my French, it's all bullshit. Because you're playing in the sandbox. I mean, come on. For me, being a vascular surgeon, that's difficult. That would be something I could never do. Tarring a roof in the hot sun, are you kidding me? I could never do that. I just don't, it's impossible. Now, I want to go to a vascular surgeon who doesn't think it's tough to be a vascular surgeon. I want that guy. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Do you want a guy where you say he's going to be working on your head? Brain surgeon. He's going to go, "Oh man, I got to cut into your skull, and then the bone. Oh, that's hard. I get through it, and then the brain. And what happens if I make a mistake? You don't want that kind of guy doing it. You want the guy that says, "Man, I've done this 1,000 times. I can't wait to get in there, because I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna see this beautiful brain. I'm gonna know exactly where to go, and it's like I'm in another planet. The time has no meaning to me. I'm totally lost in it. I know exactly. That's the kind of guy you want.
The tumor is how close to this vital organ? Awesome.
Yeah, you want the guy that says, yeah, I can get it. I can do it, as opposed to the guy that says, I don't know. And that's what a lot of actors are. They go, I don't know. It's so hard. I go, man, if it's hard, do something different. It shouldn't be hard. Studying is difficult. You need to get good at it. You need to practice your craft. You need to learn the skills. It's like a guy that's learning to swing a bat and wants to compete against major league pitching. You got to practice. You got to work on the mechanics. You're going to miss a lot of balls. But when the guy is at home plate and that pitcher is throwing that 90+ mile an hour fastball at him, you don't want the guy to be thinking about, his mechanics at that moment. He's got to let all of that go and just swing. And just trust that he has put enough muscle memory in there, that he understands it well enough that he's going to be able to connect with the ball. It's like Picasso, who said he spent his entire life learning how to paint like a child. So you need to study, but at a certain point in time, you got to let it all go and just have fun and just relax and enjoy it. Whenever I'm on a recording stage, working with other actors, it's a blast. We're working hard. We're working very focused, but we're having a lot of fun. When you work on a film set or a TV set, the actors that are the regulars, they're completely relaxed. It's the day players, the guy that's coming in that hasn't really worked in 6 months. That he's the guy that's panicking over his lines. It's not the guy that's there every single day. He's relaxed. He's comfortable with it. He's got all the lines that he has to memorize. He's got so much more work to you. Plus, he's got the weight of he's got to carry the show on his shoulders. If it fails, he's the one at fault. But you've got to be able to relax and just trust and allow who you are to come out and believe that that's enough, and not be self-critical, looking at yourself from, as a third person would be.
How has that industry changed? I mean, even, graphically, just with computers and everything, Brood War to Wings of Liberty, completely different looking. But, I mean, I grew up watching, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, and when you throw your voice in your nose, you're doing Skeletor. But nowadays, we have cartoons that, adults are enjoying. You're bringing people in. I mean, it's got to be intimidating, more intense these days, or have people perfected it?
It's not that it's more intimidating or intense, because when you're in there working, everybody is of a like mind. Everybody's having fun. They wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't fun. I worked on this show called China, Illinois for Adult Swim. I did a couple of episodes where they brought me in as different characters. And I mean, it's a silly, kind of goofy show. It's animated, like every 10th or 11th frame is animated, so it's not like a Disney film. And we're all playing around with it. We're laughing. When you work on a Disney film, it's the same thing. I'm good friends with all these guys that do all this work, and everybody is the same. If you were intimidated and freaked out by it, you're not going to work. Nobody's going to want to spend 10 minutes with you. Everybody wants to spend time with the people that are comfortable, that are relaxed, that are able to pull the stuff out of their, wherever when they need it. I don't know if you know the guy. Oh my God. Maurice LaMarche. Maurice LaMarche, one of the top VO guys on the planet. Futurama, goes on and on and on. Maurice LaMarche, whenever he goes to a convention, people ask him to do I think he does like the national anthem or something, like where it's all burped, where he just burps the whole time. Now, that was something. Look it up online. Look Maurice LaMarche burping, and you'll find him doing it. Now, this is something that he did when he was like 6 years old. That's where he learned how to do it. When he was around his friends and they were playing around, and he started burping, and people thought, oh, that's crazy. And then he just kept doing it. Now he's 40 some odd years old, and he's doing it for a living. And if you ask him to do it, he'll do it in a heartbeat. Sure, absolutely, because it's the same thing he was doing as a kid. He's just now the stakes are higher. But that's still that element of play that you need to bring into it. When the Coen brothers won an Oscar a couple of years ago for, I always get the name of this movie wrong. Is it No Country for Old Men or Old Country for New Men?
That was right, the first one. Yeah.
Okay, No Country for Old Men. When they won their Oscar, two brothers, they won an Oscar as best directors, or was it best directors or best picture? And they went up and they said, when we were about 9 years old, we did a movie called Henry Kissinger, Man on the Run. They said, what we're doing now doesn't feel all that much different. Now, it got a big laugh. A lot of people didn't maybe just comprehend the meaning of that, but it's so true. Because what are they doing? It's make-believe. We're paid to play. We go into the sandbox, we goof around. It's like we're playing cowboys and Indians, the same stuff you were doing as a child, only now you've added technique, you've added, a certain amount of training and study to get to that point. But that's all that you're doing. And that's where that's the wonderful aspect of it, is you have to keep that element, that childlike aspect alive within you. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to perform. There's a childlike aspect that comes out when I'm doing Jim Raynor. It's got to be fun to play him. If I'm not having a good time, you're gonna hear that as an audience. You're gonna know that you're just not going to like it. You're going to be, you're not going to be attracted to it. You're going to be repelled by it. We've all had those experiences. It'd be like sitting next to somebody that has body odor. You just, they may look attractive, but you're going to go, oh, no thanks. So oftentimes it's a subtle thing, but still it's like a distinction. It's a distinction without a difference, or whatever the heck it is, where it's so subtle but it's important at the same time.
Yeah, well,
you see the critiques. If you go to the movie theater, everyone critiques every single trailer.
Of course.
But you always hear that the phoning it in, or someone's paying the bills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you get the,
Yeah, and you can see it. You can see when somebody's not really present, not really there. I mean, as a culture, we're all now kind of, affected, where we have zero patience. We're not willing to allow people to give them a break. We're all kind of skeptics and and pessimistic or critical, overly critical. Whereas in the past, maybe people were a little bit more trusting, a little bit more, naive, a little bit more vulnerable, and allow themselves to get caught up in a story more, where people they don't want to appear to be vulnerable, so they start dismissing something, even though they're affected. Like I got a guy that wrote to me about a scene in Heart of the Swarm, and he says, it almost made me tear up. And I wrote back and I said, almost? I wanted you curled up in a corner, bawling like a baby. Right? And he wrote back and goes, well, I just didn't want to admit it.
Win. Yes.
I went, yeah, because that's what you want. I mean, life is about experiences. It's about experiencing emotion, both good and bad. If you go through life and you don't experience anything good or bad, you're you're like a robot. I mean, you've never experienced love, you've never experienced pain. You've just kind of lived in the middle, and it's all neutral, and nothing really happened to you. It's like you didn't exist. What's the point? If you got to love deeply, and you got to be passionate about what is happening each and every day for you. Otherwise, it's not worth it. And when you aren't living passionately, you're going to risk. And when you risk, you're not going to win all the time. But when you don't win, when the tough time hits, it makes that sweet time all the much better. It's like in Batman when they asked Bruce Wayne, why do we fall? It's so we can pick ourselves up again. That's the action. It's what do you do when you're down? Do you stay down, or do you pick yourselves up? And all that implies, meaning that life is going to throw stuff at you all the time. You don't have to go searching for it. It'll come at you. No matter how long you live, you're going to have adversity and conflict and trouble that's going to hit you. How do you react to that? And that's what makes Jim Raynor such a great character. How is he going to react to it? Because we can all identify that with him, and we can all put ourselves in that position and say, damn, I wish I handled it as well as he did. Or, yeah.
I'm so glad that you quoted Batman, just for all of our listeners who are going with this, like, I wonder if the man behind Raynor is as epic in real life, and the answer is yes.
Well, I've also, I've done a lot of documentaries, recorded a lot of narration documentaries, not just Ancient Aliens, but I think I've done like 2 or 3 on just Batman, on the villains of Batman, the lore of Batman. I did a couple of documentaries for Star Wars about the making of, and also the Legacy Revealed, where it talks about the lore of Star Wars, the story, the mythological aspects, and so and it's interesting to me. And I am passionate about it because I'm in a business where we're telling stories. 100 years ago, people got their stories through books. That's where they learned about the world. That's where they got their moral compass from. That's how they experienced certain things. Then it became, movies, and it became television. Now it's morphed into where it's the internet and it's video games. That's where we learn about life as a people. So I'm in that storytelling business. I like to tell the good stories, like to be a part of it. And it's something that will go beyond me. I mean, people will be telling stories as long as there are people on the planet. And you want to be a part of a story that is classic, something that's going to stand the test of time. And I think that StarCraft, even though it's just a video game. I mean, come on. But it's so far, it's standing the test of time. There's something that people are resonating to, that people are responding to, that people are passionate about. And I think it's the message. I think it's the characters. I think it's the story. I think the fact that it touches something within all of us that we can identify with. That's what will keep this game going for as long as we're here.
Goosebumps. That's all I have to say to that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The Blizzard games in general, it's like you were saying before, Blizzard is so good at doing this, at taking these classic storylines and kind of flipping it and making it, putting their own stamp on it. And I agree. They only have 3 major intellectual properties. They had Lost Vikings and Rock and Roll Racing and whatnot back in the day, but there are 3 flagships right now, and 2 of them are pretty medieval themed. But people love them to death. I've got framed images behind me of all 3 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, So, I absolutely agree with you.
Blizzard does 3 games, and they do those extremely well. Extremely well.
Yeah.
And they take their time, and there's no pressure to get the game out within a certain time frame. We put it out when it's ready, and we will tweak a game like StarCraft up until a few months before it's released, even sometimes. Or they'll just delay the release because they want to go back in and work on something.
Real quick, I promise everyone I will get to the questions that the fans submitted. And actually, chat room, if you want to start throwing some in there, we'll pull them over into the dock and
we should get going, because I've been just pontificating like on and on and on.
Oh no, you're an inspiration, man. You've got everyone listening to this smiling ear to ear, and it's probably going to be the most productive day they've had in a while. Yeah, go get them. All right.
Exactly. The chat room has just been phenomenal. Everyone's just like, holy crap, this guy is a legend. I don't know if you've been seeing the chat or not, but
yeah, you've got instantly followed Clotworthy for 2016.
So I love it. What's the old saying? If nominated, I will not serve. If nominated, I will not run. If elected, I will not serve.
Well, there you go. But one question you mentioned. Now that I've beaten the game, I'm not going to talk about the ending. Don't run away, everyone. But there was a leak of the ending over a year ago, which I stayed away from. But it made me think, how long is it from when you record your lines to when the game releases?
It depends. I think we worked on, the last session I had for this particular game was probably 6 or 8 months ago, I want to say. It was definitely last year.
Okay.
And with Wings of Liberty, I had a lot of sessions since Jim Raynor was obviously a very a big the most prevalent character in that particular version of the game. So I worked a lot of sessions, and I think I was working within a couple of months of when it was released at that point in time. But it's hard to remember, because you go in, you tweak little things. We went back and did some, behind the scenes footage. We added a little bit of this. We record some other stuff so it all kind of blends in a little bit. But I know that it takes a long time. It took less time for this one to come out because I think they had the basic template done, at least, programming wise, at least that was done, so they didn't have to start from scratch like they had to do with Wings of Liberty. So they were a little bit more efficient and were able to put it out within a couple of years. But still, it's a monumental amount of work that goes into it, and we haven't started work on or nobody started work on Legacy of the Void yet, but I would anticipate that in the very near future they'll probably start working on it again.
I assume with most voiceover jobs that you don't get to see much, or maybe you're showing sketches like your initial meeting. Is that different with Blizzard, or particularly this past game?
Well, it depends. Actually, if you look at the behind the scenes footage, they show you some of the early cutscenes, stuff that's partially animated. Some of the stuff we get is basically just pencil drawings.
Oh, the animatics. I've seen those, like half, like really rough animations, and some are just scratch drawings.
So oftentimes we will work with that, and it's very helpful when they have that, because it gives you a sense of what the tone of the scene is. There's oftentimes there is a scratch track that's in there. It's very funny that the voice of Raynor in the scratch tracks is usually done by Chris Metzen.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he puts that in there. So I get a sense of where what his interpretation is. You know, I don't try to copy him, God forbid. But what I do is I do understand where he's coming from, what the intention of the character is. I can sense that, so I know there's a certain line may have some gravitas that needs to be emphasized. And I go, okay, this is what Chris is trying to convey here. But more often than not, we work alone. We don't get to work with another actor. We go in, they just give us our lines. I don't see the lines before I go into the session, partly because I don't think they want the lines being out there in the world where somebody might find them. But also as an actor, I really don't want to know them ahead of time. I'm a fan of the game, and I'm invested in the character of Raynor as a fan. So I want to, when I see a scene pop up, like the scene in Wings of Liberty where Tychus turns on him, all these emotions go within me. You know, I'm pissed off. I'm feel like I've been betrayed. But at the same time, there's this element of danger that's popped up. I've got to take care of things. So you've got all this myriad of emotions that are happening, and I allow that to help dictate the performance that I'm going to give. So it's coming from an honest and truthful place, as opposed to seeing that scene was going to happen, then having a week to kind of work on it and try to plan it. What happens is you kind of beat it to death at that point. You want it to be organic. You want it to be real. And one of the nice things about voiceover, you don't have to memorize lines anyway. It's all right there. So what's the work? As long as you can say the words, as long as you can get them off the page. And honestly, a lot of actors can't get them off the page. They stumble. I don't know why you would want to be a voice actor if you can't say something like, "I never gave up on you, Sarah." I mean, literally, it's like mechanical. It's like they're like at a third grade level. You got to be able to take the words off the page, give it an interpretation in a nanosecond. That's where you need to work on the skill. A lot of actors, I used to teach voiceover. I'd tell them, I said, man, what you need, they said, what do I need to do to be successful? I said, what you need to do now is you just need to read out loud a lot. Read a book. It doesn't matter. Read a technical novel. Read the newspaper. Read a textbook. Just read out loud, because you need to build up the muscle of being able to read the words and also see ahead what you're going to be reading. I can look at words. I can come up with an interpretation of an entire monologue pretty much without ever seeing it, because I can kind of see, first of all, I can sense the rhythm of where it's going to go while I'm doing it, and I can also see like a sentence or two ahead as I'm reading the words that I'm saying. So I don't know if it's a skill, a talent, or just kind of a weird part of my brain that kind of breaks off in two, but it allows me to do that, and it's a skill that's imperative if you want to be able to give any kind of an acting performance off of a page when you're doing voiceover.
Oh, that's great. That's like peripheral reading.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. In fact, I will often challenge myself and do that on purpose, because if I can do that, then having the script and being able to look at it once is a luxury. I mean, that's an incredible luxury. So it's important whenever you're practicing something, I don't care what you're practicing, practice it where it's more difficult. You know, that's like with, those people that, if you want to weight lift, if the people that work on they have like the 2-pound barbell, you're not going to build any big muscle. You want to get, if you want the big muscle, you go for the 50, and then you try to pick up the 2. The 2 is so much simpler. It's kind of like that with acting, with anything that you do.
Yeah.
If you're used to hitting a fastball that's 90 plus miles an hour, you get a guy in there that can only throw it at 88, you're going to hit that ball out of the park every time. It's going to be like he's throwing a softball up there.
Some of the questions we got from the fans, okay. This is even before the chat room jumped in. One of them was Ninja is the guy's name. Yeah, I have no idea if he's actual ninja or not. Wants to know, how much StarCraft have you played?
Well, my answer to that is that I don't play it. I live it. How about that?
We will accept that.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
You can't argue with Jim on that. Here's a good one. Besides Jim, because I would assume that'd be the obvious, who's your favorite StarCraft character?
Well, I thought that There's quite a few. First of all, Neil Kaplan's performance of Tygus Finley, I thought was just it was I don't know where he accessed that person, but when you look at Neil and you see the voice and you go, I mean, Neil's an accomplished voiceover guy. I mean, he's done a lot of stuff. He was like Optimus Prime on Transformers. I mean, the guy's done a ton of stuff, but there's just it's like another person takes over, where you see no similarity between anything else that's happening. That blows me away when I see that. Fred Tatasciore, who plays Zeratul, is phenomenal. I mean, he's I love Matt, the character of Matt Horner. I love what Brian Bloom has done with that, where Matt is really he's the touchstone for Raynor. He's the moral compass for Raynor. He's the guy that says, "Get it together, Captain," Commander. And he's the naive one to a certain extent. He's the innocent one in the game, and where Jim is a little bit more bitter. He's seen it all, so he's been beaten down a bit. Whereas Matt still has that optimism. James Harper, who plays Mengsk, Trish Helfer, who plays Kerrigan. I mean, they're all so freaking good. It's you're surrounded by the ultimate A team. I mean, Brian Bloom, who plays what does he play? Plays I'm saying Josh Keaton, who plays Valerian. I mean, it just goes on and on. I mean, everybody's is phenomenal. But once you've inhabited the role of Raynor, it's tough to kind of really care about anybody else as much. I mean, they all do a great job, but in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm going to get that Mengsk, and that Neil Kaplan. I go, that son of a bitch, he turned on me. I know it was written that he'd do that, but still, there's like a little bit about it that I go, shouldn't have done that, Neil. so I personalized a little bit, and James, I love him to death, but man, he needs to burn in hell. You know what I'm saying?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Max Rieger in the chat room asks, did you ever do any voice casting for StarCraft Ghost, or did they cancel it before they did any voice casting?
I'm trying to remember if we did any work on it, because that was all we did, like Brood War and all that kind of stuff at roughly about the same time. And I know that StarCraft Ghost was supposed to come out.
They got really far in development. I mean, they had a playable demo at one point.
So I would think that we would have had to have recorded something. I joke when I go into the recording booth, when I talk to people, they ask me if I do, am I able to kind of vamp a little bit on some of what Raynor has, or as far as dialogue is concerned, or do I have to say it verbatim, word for word? And I tend to, as a trick, as an actor, to get into whatever that particular mindset or emotion is in that particular scene. I might curse a bit, and curse as Raynor. And of course, those curses never make it into the game because they're curses. they're pretty dirty. But people at Blizzard tell me that somewhere there's floating around just a loop of Raynor just cursing like crazy. I hope it never sees the light of day. I want it to be locked in a vault somewhere.
Oh, that's...
So I would imagine that if we worked on Ghost, and I have a feeling we probably did. Don't quote me on that. There's dialogue and stuff floating around from that as well.
Oh, that's great. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us have heard blooper reels before from different voice acting. There's a famous one from He-Man of all the voice actors just cursing up a storm, but that kind of stuff's always really fun to hear.
I tend to go, yeah. I tend to go off and just kind of be very succinct, because it's not like a long, litany of curses. It's just basically something that just gets you right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's pretty much a vocal exercise, but it just gets you in the voice.
What does it gets you into the right emotional state? It's easy to be pissed off. I mean, you just get pissed off. As an actor, you need to be able to go from one emotion to another and not have this long process that you have to go through. I mean, some actors, they need to go into a corner, they need to talk to their coach, they need to, personalize and come up with a moment in their past that, for me, it's just like, just get mad. can you just get mad? Just, maybe it's because it helps to be a little bit schizophrenic as an actor. If you're not schizophrenic, you're going to have a little bit of difficulty. You need to be able to access all that stuff and have it right there on the surface. That's why we're all such, emotional wrecks. We have, we fall apart in Los Angeles when the rain falls because traffic is so horrible. The streets, the water. What is this?
Oh God, you just took me back because I'm originally from Florida, and like I said, I spent a few years in LA after college. No one knows how to drive in the rain out there.
No,
it rains, and it's like,
it's
holy
ridiculous.
shit, what do I do?
It's ridiculous. It's insane. It's just, and it's not like it's raining like 5 inches in a day. It's, we get like a quarter inch, a half inch or something spread out over 12 hours and people are still panicking. All right.
Final question from the chat room. Squavi asked, a StarCraft movie starring Jim Raynor is announced. Blizzard gives you the honor of casting this part. Who would you cast, or who would you choose to fill the shoes?
Me.
There you go. Done.
What kind of a question is that? Of course, me. If I have the power, me. How's that for an answer?
There you go. Okay.
I would expect nothing less.
All right, there you go.
So
I'm gonna have to go pretty soon, guys. So let's.
Okay. We'll wrap. Yeah, I apologize too. I didn't even notice the time. Just chatting.
I know. I told you I could go on and on and on.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll pretty much just wrap this up in real quick. I just have one spoiler question I want to ask you, but before we do that, is there anything you'd like to promote or things you want people to check out so that everyone who tunes out for the spoiler gets to hear this?
Yeah, definitely go. Check out my. I do tweet to people. I have a Twitter account. It's Rob Clotworthy I guess it's at Twitter, and I respond to all the fans. Man, I mean, ask me questions. I'll play around with you. I'm very involved with that. I also have a Facebook fan page. I guess it's Robert Clotworthy. It's the one that's got not the personal account. I really ignore that one. That was just something I needed to put together so I could have the fan page. The fan page has got, I think, around 6,200 people that are followers now, and I love to interact with people. So write to me, and let me know what's going on, what your thoughts are of the game. If you're having a good time, if you think it sucks, whatever it might be. But I guess those are the two things that I wanted to promote.
All right. Well, awesome. Kyle, any closing remarks before I kick you out and ask Rob this last spoiler question?
No, absolutely. Thank you for joining us, and I will talk to you.
My pleasure, Cal. All right, Cal.
All right. Spoiler alert. This is happening, so leave now or forever hold your nerdy peace.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have recently completed Heart of the Swarm.
Yep.
I've seen the ending and all that jazz. So Jim unfortunately spends a long time of the game locked up in a prison.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
And then when Kerrigan finally busts him out, she walks in and he does not kill her, thank God, because it would have been a really anticlimactic ending.
Right.
But he kind of walks away from her emotionally, like, okay, I'm out. And then very last mission, out of nowhere, he decides, okay, I'm back. I'm going to help you. And in the game, it's never really addressed why he makes that switch. So I'm curious, and I'm not, obviously I have no idea if this is like canon in Blizzard, but I'm curious where you are in that. Like, why do you think Jim decided, okay, she kind of, okay.
Yeah, I've got to run, but I'll answer this last question.
Okay.
As a character, there's an evolution that happens, and his love for Sarah is what is going to carry him through. That's where he gets his strength. That's where his vulnerability is, his weakness, but it's also his source of greatest strength. So he's going to do whatever he needs to do to keep that relationship alive and stay with her. So he's going to go through, like he says, heaven or hell, and do whatever it takes.
All right. That's perfect. Robert, again, thank you so much, and you've been awesome. Thank you for staying late. And
my pleasure. Thank you very much, guys.
We'll see you again.
All righty. Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Bye. Bye.
Kyle, it is safe. I'm not sure if Kyle is watching me. I'm just going to type to him, so excuse me. You're good, dude. Come back in. So I can outro the show with you. Oh, this is great. So, I think he's finally putting his earphones back on. Kyle, are you with me?
We good? I'm back.
We're good. You're good. Can you hear me? Well, this is odd. I'm not muted, so I don't know what's going on. Anyways, well, seeing as that's going on, I'll just outro the show by myself. That has been Robert. Make sure you go check him out. You can follow him on Twitter at Rob Clotworthy. Big thanks to him again. Make sure you guys tune in next week for episode 144 because we are starting our noobisodes. This is where we bring on a pro for a specific race and kind of go over the basics, get you back into the game. Now that we have this new expansion, we have all these new units to play with. I'm sure there's a lot of new players out there, or even those of you who are rusty like myself. So next week we are having the first week of the noobisodes, which is going to be the race of Protoss, and joining us for that will be Harstem from Team Fnatic. So that'll be going on at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 21st of March, right here on twitch.tv/thehandsomenerd. StarCast is a production of amove.tv. TheStarcast.com is the place to go for our forums, archives, t-shirts, and more. And you can catch us live every Thursday night right here on twitch.tv/thehandsomenerd. Check out our VODs over on youtube.com/StarCastShow. And you can email us at starcastshow@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at TheStarCast. You can follow me at Garrett Art. You can follow Kyle at Kyle Ferguson. And you can find us both on This Week in Blizz if you enjoy Diablo, Warcraft, and even more StarCraft content. And you can check out my personal site, newmoonart.com, for any esports or streaming graphics you may need. I do all the graphics for the show here. Check out Kyle's other show, Biggest Fan Podcast, where they follow the fad that's driving you mad. You can find that on AMove TV as well. And big thanks to our sponsors, DoghouseSystems.com. The code is StarCast. It gets you double memory on your next Doghouse Systems gaming rig. The same code for tweakedaudio.com gets you 30% off and free shipping on your entire order. Those are noise-reducing earbuds, many different colors, many different styles, and they're wonderful. And then finally, SC2quoteoftheday.com, where you can keep up to date to the minute with all of the awesome quotes from the StarCraft 2 community. Just make sure to follow them on Twitter at SC2quotes and check out their store on their website. Anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in. Another thanks again to Robert Clotworthy for joining us, and we will see you all next week with the Protoss episode of the Noobisodes with Fnatic Harstem. See you then.